nobody who is secure in themselves is going to leave a hate comment. So I think also taking
Thanks, Saloni Nahar, for coming on my Healthy Indian podcast. I really appreciate it. I know we've been planning this for a while, and I'm glad our schedules align. So, a little bit about you. I know you're an actor. You have an Instagram presence as well. Let's talk about you. What's your story, I guess? Or...
Yeah, sure. Um, Broadly, I studied business at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. And since graduating, I decided I wanted to delve more into the entertainment field, and it's post grad where I got more into acting and comedy. When I was in school, I was interested in that as well, but I really got to pursue it a lot more after graduating.
Awesome. Yeah. I also see like comedy was one of your strong suits. Like I saw the joke with
Hmm.
Facebook you made, like,
Hmm.
everyone, why they put maybe or something in the comments. What
Hmm.
made you think of that joke? Because it's pretty unique. I liked it. So.
I don't know, probably seeing a Facebook event. My humor tends to be very planted in just my everyday experience because I think comedy is a lot funnier if it's about you and not about it's also like a lot less hurt. Like I think there's some comedians who kind of make jokes about other people or and I feel like that humor is not as inclusive. So I definitely strive to just make commentary on things that are relatable to myself.
No, that's really cool. I definitely think comedy is like a way to like story tell too. It's almost
Hmm.
like breaking the ice almost. So I think that's really cool. What made you want to, I guess, pursue a career in also acting as well? Because acting and comedy are kind of
Hmm.
cool, interrelated. So I think of
Hmm.
like Kevin Hart when I think of like comedy and acting together, right? So
Hmm.
what made you want to become like, an actor as well?
Yeah, I think it starts like, when you're a child and you have an idea of what you want to be when you grow up. I think the idea for acting kind of started back then. But since then, there was a time in my life where I really tried to become a YouTuber. And when I was pursuing that, I think the practice of just like speaking in front of a camera came out. And then just like Lily, I started posting more comedy videos. And that's kind of where the merge of comedy and acting came together.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. Is there something that you have, I guess, lined up for this year for 2023? Because everyone has goals.
Hmm.
So what are your goals, I guess, for 2023? Because it's cool, right? We're like on this like creator journey and we're trying to build something
Hmm.
from nothing. So I thought it would be
Hmm.
really cool to know your story a little bit. So.
No, no, definitely. So I don't know if you've heard this thing before, but it's this idea that sometimes if you speak too much about what you're working on, your minds will like psychologically feel like you've already gotten it. So there have been times in the past where I've like spoken too much on a project and then I feel like I haven't been able to follow through on it because maybe the psychology got to me. That being said, I definitely in a vague way, I'm working on creating my own content because I think every actor gets to a point where you realize like you can't get every role. So if you want to be in a certain role, you have to write it yourself. So that's what I'm working on
No,
in a very vague way.
it's really cool. No, I totally get it because falling through is like the hardest thing, right? And it's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest drawbacks in heartbreak. I think like when you try to pursue something and you don't, I guess you have it in your mind, you're manifesting it, as people would say, but you're
Mm-hmm.
manifesting it to the point where you're over worrying, and that over worrying leads
Mm-hmm.
to like mental health like issues and stuff. I know with me, I always struggle with creator burnout. So.
Yeah, also I think maybe this is what also happens to me is like the more people I tell about it or the more I talk about it, yeah, the bigger I'm making it in my mind. So like the more pressure and expectations I'm putting on it versus if I kind of just do it low key without talking about it too much, then that pressure of what certain people already think it's going to be like kind of goes away.
No, I totally get it too. Like I was actually looking up the other day how to like look up how to deal with stress or burn. I don't know how I got to
Mm-hmm.
this on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, but it was something. Have you heard of abundance mindset?
Oh
So it's
yeah,
like,
of course.
yeah, so it's like everything. I just found this out recently, and it's like you
Hmm.
think of everything in like a infinite possibilities almost. So
Hmm.
you don't, but it's in a positive way, obviously, right? You
Hmm.
could get overwhelmed if you think of it wrongly, but I think it's a way of not thinking about every little step as you go along
Hmm.
with it. It's more so
Hmm.
about, sorry, I'm like having like this whole throat thing going on.
No, you're good. You're good.
But I think it's about like just like having like the ability to be like, let me not give myself so much pressure in the moment, and let me think
Hmm.
of like, okay, like maybe it will work out, maybe it's gonna be meant for me. But then you go on with your life just thinking like, okay, I could do a million things today. I don't have to
Hmm.
worry about like, I don't know, my comedy acting gig, because you put your pressure on yourself too much. And I totally
Hmm.
noticed this at work this past week. I was over like subliminally, I was like stressed with work, and I couldn't do
Hmm.
my podcast reels or I couldn't do anything. And I was like, what's going on with me? Like, usually I'm so high energy or really good. But like, then I just realized like, I gotta look up some stuff, and I found abundance mindset. So I was like, maybe I'll start practicing that instead of try to be so type A and, try to work on everything, Um, have you had any, I guess when it comes to mental health, have you had any struggles when it comes to acting? Because I know as an actor, you have to learn how to cry, learn how to like talk a certain way, and then landing the jokes. I mean, I don't know if I could do that, but I think that's so cool that you can land those jokes. It's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I think with acting that you also have to go in with a certain mindset, kind of a resiliency mindset. And again, you can't be too attached to the outcome. Oh God, my throat is also acting up.
I guess we both have throat problems.
Yeah. Um,
It's
I
hilarious.
think auditioning is kind of similar to applying to a job. You have to be so unattached that you can kind of audition for something and then let it go because this industry is so competitive. And I have been on the other side. So I helped cast a friend's web series. And from that perspective, it became super clear like there can be five talented actors, but there's only one role. So I think that perspective also
Yeah.
allowed me to believe that like just because you don't get something doesn't mean you're not talented. And I also will say that I, as of lately, have been able to book a few more things. And I think that confidence is actually really carrying me right now in a way that it's such a mental game where now that I've been able to book things, I can confidently be like, oh, I'm a good actor. So even if I don't get a specific role, I still know I'm a good actor. So even with that mindset, even if I hadn't booked those things, I think if I always kind of believe that confidence, I just think um, so much, so like everything is affected by your mindset, right? So much of it is a mental game. I remember growing up, I grew up playing the piano, and one time me and my sister were auditioning to play piano on the radio, and I thought we already got it. Like I didn't think this was an audition. I thought we were just showing them what our pieces were and we were already going to be on the radio regardless. So I went in with that mindset that like that I didn't go in with that mindset that they were going to decide on me. I kind of thought that, they already know we're playing on the radio. And I think that because I went in that mindset, I actually got it because I thought I already had it. So basically, I think like when it comes to mental health, like obviously there've been times where I've been really upset after not getting something, but now I've started to build kind of a confidence. And I'm a huge believer in if it's meant for you, you'll get it. So,
I'm the same. I'm like go with the flow, but then also, I guess, have an optimistic mindset towards life. Just
mhm,
just because I'm 29 or 30, that pressure of marriage or whatever is always like
mhm,
lingering around me. But I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like it's whatever. It's not. Doesn't define my day to day activities. Like I love podcasts. I love meeting new guests. I love like working
mhm,
out. I have a great friend circle. So like, why am I like thinking so much about like why do I care? Why should I care about what other people have to say about me when I already have everything I want? And whoever the person is, like one day is like gonna be an asset to me. But it's like let it
mhm.
just happen, Like you don't need to put all this pressure behind like somebody or someone because it's just like just for no reason you're just like self sabotaging, you know?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
but yeah, no, you were saying something. I don't want to cut you off. So,
No,
um,
no, you're,
okay, cool.
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get that. I guess one thing I wanted to ask you was like, what's your advice towards people? I guess when it comes to building or improving their self confidence, you know, like it's a mindset shift that you were like you're gonna go and get it. But is there
Hmm.
any other things that you do on a day to day that can really like help them in the profession that you're in? Because I feel like there are a lot of things that aren't talked about. So let's talk about those if you have someone in mind.
Yeah, so I actually read a book called The Confidence Gap, which is all about strategies to becoming more confident. And actually one of the initial exercises is it literally poses the question, what would you do if you were more confident? So I think even with starting with that one question, what would you do if you were more confident? And like writing down a list, like if I was more confident, I would maybe start a podcast or I would
Hey, let's
do
go.
XYZ, right? So then I think once you have that list, then you know that maybe that there is some confidence lacking if there are things you're not doing because you're a little self-conscious. And then I think another strategy is, the whole fake it mindset. Like just put on a character for the day, decide, you know what, I'm going to wake up today and just be the most confident version of myself, even if it doesn't feel comfortable. And you kind of like act your way through it. And I also think affirmations help a lot. Like there have been times where I have to get up and look in the mirror and be like, I am hardworking. I I am positive. And I kind of just have to reaffirm things in order to get the fuel to do it because otherwise then the other things we tell ourselves like I am lazy or I'm complacent or I'm tired, those will affect like what we feel like we can actually do. So again, like I just think confidence is so similar to what we were talking about how it's just a mental game and you kind of have to just
No, I totally get it. And like from that perspective, with the back to the abundance mindset thing, whatever
Mhm.
I saw, they said like to write all your fears on one page and then the opposite of the page, write all the opposites of those fears. So like I hate
Mm.
hiking. I love hiking. So then when you look at it and read it every day, you're gonna start telling your mind instead of those negative thoughts, repetitions of good thoughts, and then those positive thoughts. And once those positive thoughts come in, you'll start implementing your mindset to be more positive towards what you're doing. So
Mhm.
it's so crazy, like how the mind is. Like I find it so insane. And one of the quotes I got from the mind recently was like, I really like this. The mind is good for so many things, but it's a bad office. Um,
Mm.
I really like that quote. I don't know what about it, but just it can become like, like what I get from is like it can become like hell if you want it to be, right? Like it can become
Mhm.
a really bad office, but it has the
Mhm.
ability to like do so many things, right? Like
Mhm.
when you go out and like I don't know, you manage your time as a comedian or as an actor or you do these reels. I almost feel like you can do it on a day to day, but then there's some days you need to like assess who you are and then still have fun, right? Like go out, hang out with
Mhm.
friends, go, just do the things you love doing, like hobbies and go into the gym, So
Mhm.
yeah, that's my mindset towards it. But yeah, no, for sure. I guess let me just look at my one thing. Oh, okay, so what has been one of your most memorable acting experiences? Have you met anyone really cool through acting or?
Yeah, no, I definitely have a few, but I will say the first thing that comes to mind, a few years ago, I acted in a student film, and what was really exciting to me was the character's name was Sumati. And I think for the first time, I was like, wow, I actually get to audition for someone who is ethnically South Asian because a lot of times, I'll audition for a name like Sarah or anything that's just ethnically ambiguous. And the fact that I actually got to audition for a character that was specifically written with the hopes of having a South Asian being cast in it was really eye-opening to me. And since then, even as I go on to write my own stuff, I'm very cognizant of the fact of like naming my characters because I have a friend who a few months ago sent me a script and one of the characters' names was Saloni. You know how awesome it is to be able to
Yeah.
be able to see a script with our names, especially like obviously in Indian television that might be a lot more prominent, but in American English television to see like our names be written as characters. Like we never got that growing up. You never got to see like a Saloni character on TV, you know?
Oh hell
Or
no.
an Umang. You never got to see.
Yeah,
Have you ever
no,
seen an Umang?
no,
Yeah.
unfortunately not. Maybe I should pursue acting now. Like I'm getting, it's almost like I gotta fill this void here. Like they need to fix this.
Mhm.
I always see
Mhm.
like Peter, like Peter Parker, like somebody that's like more on the, just like the more common names. But it's hard to see more Salonis or just
Mhm.
American or brown people in general. No, it's definitely like one of, but it's so cool that you try to imitate your characters. Has there ever been characters that you've found like so much inspiration from? Because I always look at these interviews and they like
Mhm.
talk about like Jenna Ortega talked about like how she played Wednesday Addams, and it was like so cool like how she was like I had to like fix like my like stare down and like they had to see like
Mhm.
how I was in like almost like a video, like you know what I mean, like because she had like the whole like I don't know, like the gothic vibe or cathartic gothic vibe to her. So
Mhm.
that's I find that like talent, like it's a lot of talent behind that, face expressions.
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. And right now I'm like thinking in my head about
Yeah,
all the
yeah, no,
characters.
no, go for it. Take time. I mean,
Mm,
I feel like podcasts should be free flowing anyways, so you know.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's we can come back to that later if you want.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good. We'll come back to that.
Okay, cool, cool. Okay, so when you think of like happiness on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your personal happiness rate, or like how do you what is your happiness scale like out of 1 to 10, and why?
Like how happy I am?
Yes, yes.
Hmm. I think I'm like baseline happy, but like I think have you seen The Pursuit of Happiness?
Yes, with Will Smith
Oh,
and then the Jaden, yeah, when he was little.
hmm
I
hmm
love that.
hmm
I love that movie. It was a good one.
Yeah, I think there's ways to be like baseline happy, but then also sad. Does that make like for example, like this week was really hard for me actually because I mean I'm taking such an uncertain career path. I'm not really sure where I'm going. I was also just not like feeling well physically this week and I had to have like a lot of like catharsis just like release. I remember I was just like driving and I was like ah literally
Yeah.
like into the void. But I feel like even when I have days where I feel like really upset or really down or really kind of feelings of depression, I feel a baseline level of happiness. If that makes it's almost like I don't think you can be happy all the time, but if you feel like you can come back to a place of just general like gratitude and joy, then even if you have like really bad days, like I feel like this week was really bad in some ways, like baseline I can still feel happy. I don't know if there's like I can put a certain number
I
on
see
it.
what
I
you're
just
saying. I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Like, it's for some people, you can't just say you're happy on a scale because it goes by like mood and a weekly basis almost. So it's like some
Mm-hmm.
weeks are maybe a 10, and then some weeks could be like a
Hmm.
5. You don't know that.
Yeah.
And no, that's a good way to look at it. I guess, yeah, no, it's interesting because like happiness is one of those things where like for me I'm at like a 8.5 to 9, but I think for me the 10 would be like hitting like all like my goals, and like you said, like being in that abundance mindset and like really like improving as a person. But I feel like I'm like the harshest critic of myself sometimes, so I don't feel
Hmm.
like I'm improving even if I am, if that makes sense. So
Well, what are some of the goals that you have that make you feel like you're not at a 10? Or
I'm not at a 10. Well, I feel like it's more so about like I guess like getting a certain physique when it comes to
mm,
like fitness, and then getting also some place with just my ability to kind of network with people, like just making real friends and not friends who are just network based, you know what I mean? But it's kind of
hmm
hard to
hmm
do that when you're like trying to be a professional podcaster, when you're trying to like make friends and stuff, like even at the gym, like I feel like sometimes I am friends with some people who are we click very well, but then there's other people like I try to make connections with and it just never works out. You know what I mean? So it's
hmm
like intentful connections are the hardest thing for me, but the most random connections I have with the most random people. It's like I don't know
hmm
how it works, the world, but like it's like weird. Like when you want someone to like you, it's like almost like really hard to be accepted. But when you're not trying, it's like, okay, sure, I love everything you are and everything you're gonna be. So
That's honestly, that's also like another mindset thing that's the same with uh acting almost in a way, where it's like when you put someone or an opportunity or something on a pedestal, then your mind kind of then you I get then it's almost like you're approaching it from this like lack mindset. But like how people say like, oh, when you're just like not really trying, that's like when you get what you want. And I think it's just because the universe can feel your energy, and if you're like too in your head about something or you're too calculated about something, then it I think like attracts like. So it's like when you're coming in with that energy, then it's not as attractive versus if you're already just like in your normal, like not really trying and like just being who you are, that attracts that energy from other people too.
so what do you say like if you're being yourself, but then
Mhm.
you have friends who think that you need to like not friends, just like critics in general,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
want to modify how you act because of the way you you can be perceived or something. Does that ever happen to you? Like where like, oh, maybe like let's say you're going on a date or something, and like they're like, oh, well,
Mhm.
don't say this, don't say that, and then you're just like almost like guarded. You know what I mean? So how do
Mhm.
you be yourself, but then how do you also get to a point where you have a long lasting relationship? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what are those things that you're getting feedback on, because I think we should all have our own like ideal versions of ourselves, of like like when I'm acting in my best self, I'm kind or I'm XYZ. So if those qualities or those things aren't in alignment with that, then I don't think you should change yourself like that. But if it's something that you think would make you like a positive, better version of yourself, then I think that's totally fine. But again, I think everybody has their own baseline of like what they believe to be their best version, and I don't think you should change that
Yeah.
based on someone else's. Yeah.
No, and fuck yeah. Like obviously I think that's awesome.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't think anyone should really change themselves. I think it's just one of those things like for men's health recently, it's been like all these like videos on masculinity and stuff. So it's like I see
Mhm.
a lot of men trying to be vulnerable, but it's almost like when they're vulnerable, it's like, it's almost like looked down upon. I don't know why. Um, so I was just like trying to think like why is it that like men also feel like it's hard to be vulnerable? Me personally, I'll be always vulnerable, but
Mhm.
I'm just wondering like why is that an issue now, So
I think it's definitely has to do with socialization too. I'm not sure if you saw this viral video go around of, I think they threw like 10 girls in a house. They were like children, and they also did you see this one? And they also had like 10 boys in a house for a week without parents. They were like 8 to 10-year-old kids, and they
oh
wanted to see what happened at the end of the week and how the genders like ran the house was so vastly different. And I think that already starts like right when you're a kid, and like maybe you see how your parents run your house. And also I just think like women growing up are very socialized to talk with each other and like lean on each other versus men maybe not as much so. So I honestly feel like it really just has to do with how society socializes both genders.
yeah, because there are people out there that like everything you see online, like, oh, if you're masculine or something like that, right? There's people out there that I know that are not masculine. They are in relationships and they pull off like the complete
Mhm.
opposite of what they're saying. So I feel like you gotta just kind of go with what you think is right, and I don't think you should listen to people, social media especially, because it can be so, I feel like so toxic, but like
Mhm.
so helpful if you use it correctly. I think so.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah. So yeah. I'm just like looking at some of the questions. I want to make sure. How do you stay up to date with, I guess, just your Instagram? Do you like post on a weekly basis, or is there something, a direction you're trying to take with it, or is it just for like fun, kind of?
Not at all. There are days I literally wake up and I want to delete social media. The reason I can't is because I work part-time in social media, so I have to post on like clients' pages. I definitely think that, how people say like social media is kind of a drug. I feel that all the way. I feel like I know way too much about people who I've never met in real life, or about people who I haven't spoken to in years. And it's like, it's a lot harder to self-regulate when you have it available to you, like it's hard to have Instagram on my phone and then say, you know what, I'm only going to check it once a day versus if I delete it completely, it'll be a lot easier to not look at it. So all of that to say is I am a big contender of social media in its ability for me to like connect with people and also share comedy or certain things that allow greater opportunity, but I'm still struggling with myself in building like a healthy relationship because I think it can be really, really mind it can mess with your mind and give you unrealistic expectations and also give you too many thoughts about things that are unrelated to what you're trying to do. Like, I don't need to know about everybody, but it's super hard to not look when it's available. Like what has your relationship been like with social media? Like, how have you managed that?
Oh, that's a great question. Thanks for asking the podcast host. Um, no, great. No, I mean, with me, my relationship is pretty, it's up and down too. I mean, I think
Mhm.
I know so much about things that really shouldn't matter, like Drake's new outfit, Drake's betting curse. Like, I know about like basketball drama, obviously, like, just pushing Kevin Durant being like a Twitter drama queen, Kim Kardashian, like all the Kardashians, and then Kendall Jenner and Jay Shetty's like, obviously amazing interview. So I'm definitely invested in social media, but I think for me, it's one of those things where like I try to use it as a tool on a day to day. So I do have limiters on my phone. So I put like 30 to 40 minutes. Maybe I started pushing to like an hour or two recently, but I'm using it just for like the hour or two to like really relax. If it's in bed or wherever it is, after an hour, I'm off of it. And if I'm talking to anyone, I'm usually like, hey, just text me directly. I'm not trying to stay on social media. But I'll send them like one or two reels here and there that will make them laugh or just something relatable, right? Like when we talk about like just relatable shows like You that just came out, I'm like, dude, You's
Mhm.
out. Yo, he's like in Paris now. What is he gonna do next? Not sure if you're into like movies like that, but yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what I do. What are your hobbies, by the way? I feel like it'd be cool for the people to know, like who the real Saloni is.
Yeah, no, I like all things art related. So I love
Wow.
like I love cities with public art, like if you're walking down the street and you see like I get even graffiti like on anything that is like art in real life makes me feel like the city has so much more character and is a lot more alive. Actually, I think I told you, but I just got back from India and the
You did.
biggest the biggest difference I'm realizing between India and here is the color. Like when you're walking down the street in India, there's so much color everywhere and in like the food stalls, in the vendors, in what the people are wearing versus if you walk down the street here, like the buildings are gray, the colors people are wearing are muted, the weather is mute, and it's just like the color and the vibrancy. I feel like even from like an energy perspective, it's just a lot more uplifting, and I love putting myself in places like that, whether it's like an interactive museum or I also because I'm a performer myself, I've started to appreciate live performances and artistic ventures from a lens of like, if I'm trying to do that one day, like if I'm in a play one day, I'm gonna need some people to come watch me. So I'm a lot more aware.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I'm a lot more aware of like, just being involved in the community, knowing that I'm trying to be in it as well. So that's kind of like what I like to do for fun, just go to different artistic ventures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like in college I used to go to like museums a lot. So I'm in New Jersey area, so they have something
Hmm.
called the Met. I don't know if you've been to that museum there or the Vessel.
Hmm.
You heard of
Hmm.
it? They have a lot
Hmm.
of stuff. So it's like different, you know, like timelines of like dinosaurs and different like, mummies and stuff. So I geek out over all that stuff. I'm like huge on stargazing and stuff like that too. So no, it's cool. It's cool that you do that because I think that's probably like where you get your artistic vision from, right? Like, oh, maybe I
Hmm.
need to like be more creative or me be like more like myself this week and then next week just go into and be a freaking crazy awesome performer. So but no, I noticed that. But India, I think it's been interesting because you're right. Like Holi, for example, that's such an awesome like holiday, and I feel like in
Mm.
America, like Diwali just became like what do you call it, a national holiday recently, I think.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so like that, it became a thing. So, definitely the brown community could use some kind of color, I would say. Definitely in America, because I feel like we're great and close knit, but at the same time, I think we need to also advocate for mental health for women and men. But I also think it should be more, I guess, not looked down upon, especially from our parents and perspective of that realm. So, but yeah, no, okay. So okay. Oh, how do you handle negative feedback if someone gives it to you?
Great question. Are you into astrology at all? I know
Yeah.
that sounds like a
Oh yeah, I
tangent.
saw. I saw. Don't worry, I saw that. You were like pretending to. I don't know. You said pretend to know what you're like the person, and then you look up
Yeah,
like,
their zodiac sign. Yeah, yeah.
maybe they're not that bad.
The reason I bring that up is because my zodiac sign is very basically I'm very sensitive, and that's kind of like based on my zodiac sign too. So negative feedback is very hard to get, but I think that what I try to do is look at it from a, like, objectively, is this coming from a place of general improvement? And if it is, like, how can I implement it? Or if I feel like it's not relevant, then, like, actually, I got a hate comment on my latest comedy video. I think someone was like, "This is why, like, women and comedy don't go together." And I just saw that and I was like, "Hello," like, at
Fuck
that
that
point, you
guy
don't.
or whoever that
Yeah,
is.
I feel like, and also part of it is like I think I easily could have like replied back, or but at that point it's like sometimes it's easier even just not to engage, just like read the comment and be like, hmm. If it's actually a good like thing that could move me forward constructively, processing it. But sometimes comments like that, you kind of just gotta like. But again, I think it's a lot easier to be able to have that perspective when you've also had support. So similarly, I think that like I'm able to brush off negativity and stay confident in where I'm going because I've had positive reinforcement as well. But you know what they say, like one negative comment can drown out like 100 positive comments. But I feel like I otherwise, like if you think like that, it will be impossible to move forward. So all of the 100 positive comments help me when a negative comment comes like that.
I think also like for me too, very
Mhm.
similar. I think I deleted a comment recently. My
Mhm.
brother's 16. He's like, stop being a boomer. Like, keep that shit there. And I'm like, why? He's like, because that's Riz, bro. Like, that's how you get like. And I was like, well, okay, whatever. But anyways, I was like, but he's like, it's good because like, if someone saw that, they see that at least you're going somewhere, and there's just some dude hating on it. Because all he said was like, this is barely a podcast. You don't ask questions. I was like, I literally asked like 20 questions. Like, I don't understand what else you want me to do.
Mhm.
And it was just more so like, he said some racial thing, like, this is why Indians can't like have like a platform or some shit like that. And I was like, interesting. And I deleted it, but I wish I could undelete it because I could care less what he has to say now. And
Mhm.
right then when you commented, I actually went up a lot in like followers and views. So I was like, interesting. It's like, maybe I'm making it, but this is how you do it, right? You see more like criticism. So,
Yeah.
no, I told you. So, like, I guess you're trying to say like have thick skin, but like also just be like, yeah, whatever. It's not like a big deal, unless if you make it a big deal, right? So,
I also think that like it's so like you'll never see someone who's really successful leaving a hate comment. So it's also just like looking at it from a perspective of like any time in your life like you've ever felt like hate towards someone or jealous or envy, because I feel that all the time. It's almost like, why am I feeling that? Maybe because they're doing something that's actually really impressive that I would never have the guts to do. So I'm coming at them from a place of like envy. So similarly, when this guy's commenting this, even, like to you or even to me, it's like, do they secretly want to start a podcast, or are they trying to do stand up but they just can't? It's almost like nobody who is secure in themselves is going to leave a hate comment. So I think also taking it from the lens that it's really not about you, it's just about them, and like you can't control other people.
Oh, 100%. It's definitely their problem because it's like, can you do this? Can you stand up here and make these jokes? It's not, I mean,
Mhm.
it's great and it's fun and I love it, but I think it takes hard work and dedication to get to this point and keep going. I think just getting to this point is not enough. Like, you definitely need to keep a drive. And like you said, we have all our mental health balancers and checks and everything. So it really helps. I really like how you brought up India. Like, how do you feel like third world countries have it more laid back, or they're more like? I generally feel like they're way more happier than our country in general, or like just the more modernistic countries. Forget our country, but
Mhm.
um, I think it's really cool. Like the mental health there is definitely like really good. Here, I feel like we have so much, I guess, money in a sense as a society, but like we just look at it like that, and it got me thinking, like, what do you like? Yeah, that's so true. Like, like, do you feel like the other countries are just way more happier than us, like especially from a societal point of view, because they have less?
Not necessarily, because
Okay.
um I think culture based on the internet has spread a lot. So even if you look at youth in India, if I look at my younger cousins, they have a similar baseline in terms of culture as we do because they're also consuming the same content from the internet. I will say, I believe that some of the communities are a little more, there's a lot more happening. Like in in the US, it's a lot easier to be isolated. You know, you can work from home and spend an entire day not seeing anyone, but in India at my aunt and uncle's house, in like one day, someone has come by to pick up clothes to iron. Someone like it's so noisy. Like there's always people around you that it can be in some ways it can be harder to get privacy, but at the same time that can force you to like have to sit in the kitchen and talk to someone or feel like you're actually connected to humans versus here it's a lot easier to be isolated in your big house. So I think at least the human connection might be a little harder to come by.
Yeah, that's what I felt like there too. There, it's like people leave their door open. It's kind of like you could just go in and walk into someone's house and have tea. Like that's like a normal
Hmm.
transaction for the day almost. And you could sit on a swing
Hmm.
and to get to know them. So I think it's really cool. I also saw, going back to this topic, but I also saw like a classic love story in the airport scenario. So I thought of like India and
Hmm.
Hollywood scenes a little bit. And you were like, I wish like they had a wait and save option for, you know, like for Lyft or something, to see
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
person. So I thought that was a really funny skit. Yeah, no, it's great. I like how what you're doing, and I think the more you keep doing that kind of comedy, I feel like it's gonna resonate with people because it's so relatable. It was relatable to me.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's pretty cool to see that as well. When you think of successful actors, who do you think of? Like, because for me, what comes to mind is Johnny Depp, Tom Hanks, Jessica Alba, right? Who do you
Hmm.
who do you I guess idealize?
Yeah. Are you familiar with Gina Rodriguez? She's in Jane the Virgin.
I might by my face. I'm a face person, so yeah, I don't know, but
Hmm.
yeah, what about her? I guess.
She has like an incredible monologue in one of the episodes. It has to be like 10 minutes where she's literally just speaking her mind, and the other two characters in the scene are just not talking, just watching her, and she's just like going from room to room, just like speaking, 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 going to another room, speaking, speaking, and like the other characters are just like kind of absorbing it, and it's not like she's even talking to them. And I just thought that scene was so powerful and like her internal monologue coming out. And I also I think a lot of actors now are also leaning into the creating their own content. So a lot of actors, if they start as actors, eventually they try to become directors or writers as well. So for example, one of the people like Mindy Kaling, she started as an actor and now she is able to write a lot more roles to give a lot more opportunities to other South Asians. So and Lily Singh, I honestly appreciate anyone who has been able to push the like ball forward because uh I once saw like an this Asian American said like if we want more representation on screen, we need more representation behind the screen. So like if we want to see more South Asian characters, we need more South Asian writers. So yeah, any actor who has been able to also create their own stuff is like successful in my eyes.
Yeah, it's so cool too because like she was such a well, I don't know if she was a cameo in The Office. She was one of the main characters, but at the same time, I feel like she wasn't like the main character. Like,
Yeah, she was also part of the writing staff on The
oh,
Office.
okay, so that makes sense.
Hmm.
But yeah, what she did was like amazing. Like, I think like with her, she also paved the way for people like in the early stages of like our childhood, I guess, like to be like almost like a fusion actor, and then she was also in like so many shows too, and I think it
Hmm.
showed that she can represent South Asian women very well and be independent. And she looks great right now. I saw her Instagram the other day. Like she lost a ton of weight. She's killing it.
Hmm.
She's writing. Like it's, man, I can see her doing like great in the future, like having some really good movies or something. Um, yeah, so I think I have everything I needed to ask you, but I do have a rapid fire round if you want, if you're down.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
okay, Bollywood or Hollywood?
Hollywood.
Bollywood? Okay, cool. Mountains or beaches?
Um, it depends on the day.
Depends on the day. It's just like this happiness skill. Okay, electric car or a gas car?
I
Saving the
mean,
earth?
environment. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
electric
yeah.
car. Yeah.
Come on. Okay. And do you like acting more or comedy more? If you have to pick. It's a
I
rap.
can't. I
You can't.
clearly, what you got out of this is I can't do rapid fire because everything to me depends. It literally depends. Like comedy for some reasons, acting for some reasons.
No, it's cool. It's cool. And then your favorite Bollywood song, and that's the last one.
That's also hard. There's so many
Okay.
good ones.
Doom Bachale, I guess. I'll just say that. Or Patan. Patan's a good one. I really like the Patan trend that's going on. People have been dancing to it, so
Yeah, did you watch the movie?
yeah, I did. I did. It was really good. It was really good. I liked Shah Rukh Khan how jacked he was, though I didn't.
Mhm.
I don't believe that was like natural, but okay, whatever. I'm not. But I think yeah, no, the acting was really good and like it was such a good action movie. Actually, it was better than what I thought it would be because back in the day they used to like take like a gun and throw it like 100 miles per hour and it hit the guy in the head. Now it's like actually pretty good fighting. So like that and Brahmastra. I really like Brahmastra too. So. Okay, cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Saloni, and I guess coming on the show and talking about mental health, just scheduling, prioritizing yourself, your mindset, talking about movies, India. Like it was really cool to have you, and definitely looking forward to talking to you more too, offline and online as well. And thank you for coming on.
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much.